Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
Bob Scarborough.
We are the FAIRtax guys. All right.
Yeah, man.
There we go. What was that?
Big cube of confusion.
Big cube of confusion. Yeah, well, this is our graphical representation of the income tax. But I've got it in a fairly symmetrical pattern here. Usually, I'll just scramble this thing all the way up, and that would really tell you how complicated and how constantly changing and how crazy the income tax code is. It just takes too long for an old guy to put this back together. If I scramble it all the way up, it's doable. It just takes a while, and that's how that goes.
Nice pattern.
All right. Well, I guess let's just jump right into the issue at hand here. This is episode number 525 of FAIRtax Power Radio. And you know what the old adage says about all good things must come to an end. There will be no 526. We are going to be redirecting our efforts into other ways. I mean, a 30-minute podcast is just not really working too well as far as reaching people. And we're going to go things in another direction. Go take a bit of a break and kind of regroup, and then see where we go from here. But sir, it has been an honor and a privilege working with you ever since Mr. Maiellaro checked out several years ago. And we're not giving up on the FAIRtax. Absolutely not. We're just going to be redirecting our efforts in another direction. And again, I must thank you profusely for your dedication to the cause, for your friendship over these years. And we will definitely get back together, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And the folks that are watching that and are listening to over the radio stations that carry, for the radio stations, there will be some encore episodes coming in the near future to hold the spot, at least for now, until we have a chance to speak with the stations that carry FAIRtax Power Radio. But the listeners that are there and the folks that are out there watching over social media, there are plenty of opportunities for you to get involved from an influencer standpoint, to make sure that people are aware of and can champion the FAIRtax as time moves forward.
Indeed. Well, I can't sign off without doing this one more time. Our weekly look into Congress.gov. You go to Congress.gov, you put the word the Internal Revenue Code in quotes in the search bar at the top of the page. You be sure you're selecting only legislation in the current Congress. And again, as of the day we're recording this, it is now over the 2,000 mark, 2,003 hits on that search when it comes back. And let's see, again, if you may have noticed that I don't have quite as much glare in my glasses as I used to, because I have turned my screen brightness way down. And so I'm having a hard time reading this. Forgive me. But our first item up for bids, as we say on FAIRtax Power Radio, Congress.gov, is going to be H.R. 8933 from Representative Darren LaHood of Illinois. It says to amend the Internal Revenue Code to include dietary supplements as qualified medical expenses. There's a companion bill to that as well, S4587. But the tax code is now defining that dietary supplements as qualified medical expenses. So I guess if you can now start deducting the cost of your vitamins and your fish oil and stuff like that, it's not really a prescription, but it's call them dietary supplements. They will be qualified medical expenses under the IRS code if this bill passes. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and a lot of people do. You're watching TV, you're scrolling, you're looking for something that's going to keep you young and vital, and maybe help you with acid reflux, or maybe you've got some brain fog that needs to be cleared out. That's where the nutritional, dietary, if you will, supplements come into play, and it's great. But there's an easier way to get a credit for buying those things, and that is to not put the bill in the tax code, but to have the FAIRtax be enacted.
Absolutely. I have to know that dietary supplement that's supposed to improve your brain activity that says it uses this thing in jellyfish. Well, jellyfish don't even have a brain. I'm not sure how that works, but that's how that goes. But if that bill passes, dietary supplements will be qualified medical expenses. Moving on here to H.R. 8921. This is from Lauren Boebert in Colorado to amend the Internal Revenue Code to modify and eliminate certain taxes imposed under the National Firearms Act. Remember, the National Firearms Act has been folded into the Internal Revenue Code. So now Representative Boebert here wants to modify or eliminate certain taxes that were imposed under that National Firearms Act, which is now part of the Internal Revenue Code. Isn't that cool?
It really is something. Again, tax code, really? We're going to, obviously somebody, lobbyist or somebody is kind of pushing this forward a little bit, you think?
Oh, absolutely. You can see lobbyist footprints on the fingerprints on just about everything that comes in here, probably including this next one, H.R. 8920 from Andy Biggs in Arizona to amend the Internal Revenue Code to direct the Secretary of the Treasury to share individual taxpayer identification numbers with the Department of Homeland Security for the purpose of enforcing immigration laws. Now, how about that? They're now using the tax code to enforce immigration law. Now, I'm all in favor of enforcing immigration laws. Make no mistake about that. But do you really have to do it with the tax code? Mercy.
I'm telling you, it's something.
All right, let's see. Next one is H.R. 8917 from Representative Jody Arrington in Texas to amend the Internal Revenue Code. Here you go. To provide that overtime pay provided to certain Border Patrol agents is qualified overtime compensation. Now, again, Border Patrol agents deserve every break they can get, but they are not the only people that deserve every break they can get. Why do we have the tax code discriminating and in effect picking winners and losers? And again, I've got no problem with the Border Patrol agents being winners here, but the tax code should treat everybody the same, regardless of how they make their money, regardless of what their occupation is, regardless of which political party you're associated with, who you vote for, who you vote against. None of that should make any difference. The tax code should treat everybody the same, and this is a blazing example of how the Internal Revenue Code does not do that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it comes down to what we always say, tinkering with the tax code makes it more complicated and could cause issues in other parts of the tax code unintended. And the best way to handle incentivizing the general population in terms of saving or investment and helping out is with the fair tax. Consumption tax will beat out the income tax every time.
Absolutely. Well, you use the word incentivizing, and you did unknowingly just really set up this next one. Last item we're going to look at on Congress.gov on FAIRtax Power Radio is S 4569 from the Senate side. Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona has introduced a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide incentives for the domestic production of printed circuit boards. Yes, a lot of those things are made offshore, but I tell you what, why don't we provide incentives for the domestic production of everything we make by quit taxing the companies that make them? Just get rid of the corporate income tax entirely like the fair tax does, and you will incentivize not only the domestic production of printed circuit boards, you'll incentivize the domestic production of cars, airplanes, anything and everything that can be built in a factory will be done here on the shores of the United States when the business community no longer has to deal with a corporate income tax.
Yes, absolutely. We have enough trouble keeping up with all the details of what the Treasury through the Internal Revenue Service wants to find out about us and our finances. We have enough trouble keeping up with all of that on an annual basis. Year after year. It would be nice to have a day off.
Indeed. I tell you what, wait a minute. One more time here. Here, reach for my can of North Carolina cheer wine.
Yes, buddy.
Gotta have it. Let's see. I don't know if you can hear this.
Yeah.
There we go. It goes like that.
For those of you on radio
Gotta
or
have some cheer wine.
yes, Mr. Bob Paxton always quenches his thirst with a cheer wine.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, that is our Congress.gov segment as we wrap up Fairtax Power Radio. And you're thinking, well, gee, what are we going to talk about here on this last episode of FTPR? And I was thinking there's an email somebody sent a couple of days just with all kinds of misconceptions and stuff that's wrong with the fair tax. We're going to refute him. And I said, nah, let's don't do that. Let's don't give him any. Actually, you said don't give him any credit on that. Let's just go back into the fair tax FAQ. We will wind up Fairtax Power Radio again by just explaining what the fair tax is and why people should support it. And what the fair tax is that a lot of people either don't understand or intentionally misrepresent, it is not a new tax that's going to be imposed on top of everything else and make your life 23% more expensive, as a lot of folks like to say. It is a replacement plan for a intrusive, just there aren't enough words to describe how bad the income tax is. But the fair tax plan is a replacement for the federal income tax. You will no longer pay tax on what you make. You will pay tax on what you spend if the fair tax is successful in upending the income tax.
That's right. The average household with the fair tax has $8,494 more per year in take-home pay. It happens.
Yes, your take-home pay increases dramatically because there are no more withholding, no more federal payroll taxes. You bring home every penny you earn. Of course, if you have some voluntary deductions or if you live in a state that has a state income tax and they take a piece of it, the fair tax will not affect either of those things. But your take-home pay will rise dramatically because the federal government will no longer be taking a big chunk of your paycheck before you get it. You will pay Uncle Sam when you buy things, not when you earn your money under the fair tax. And a lot of people just don't seem to understand that it's going to be intrusive, it's going to be invasive, it's going to be all this kind of stuff. Absolutely not. Compared to the income tax, you're crazy. The fair tax is paid anonymously at the cash register when you buy things. The government does not collect a little smither of personal data on you. They don't. It's none of their business how much you make, who you work for, how much you give to your church, how much you spend on medical care, thus and thus and thus. All of the things. I mean, there are over 800 forms and schedules that the IRS publishes. And the fact that it takes that many forms to collect all the data that the IRS needs tells you just the enormous amount of data that the IRS collects on people and on businesses. And every bit of that data collection goes away with the fair tax because you don't need it. You just pay your taxes as part of the price of the things that you buy. I don't understand how people can say it's going to be more invasive and more complicated than the income tax, because it's not.
And another misconception too, and I'm seeing in a number of social media posts, is the thought that when you say 23% tax, you're going to pay 23%. And that's the inclusive number. When you go to, if it costs $1, 23% of that is the fair tax. Maybe, but you're going to end up in a different level of tax because your effective tax rate is going to be lowered by as much as 67% over the current system with the income tax. If you get the
people say a 23% tax is going to take 23% of your income away from you. No, it's not. When you get the prebate, all of the tax you pay on your basic necessities, i.e. your spending up to the poverty level, is refunded to you. So you don't take anything out of your own pocket to pay the fair tax until after you've provided for your basic necessities. And then after that, if a family that spends right at the poverty level will pay zero net fair tax. I mean, every dime they pay at the cash register is given back to you. A family that spends at twice the poverty level will have half of what they paid in taxes given back to them. So instead of 23%, that family will pay 11 0.5% of their income will be used to pay the fair tax. So it's just crazy what people are saying about it, and it just ain't so.
A family of four receives in annual prebate checks $7,328 every year. And this is all based on the poverty level put out by the federal government on an annual basis. And it's related to your spending up to the poverty level. Bob Paxton gets it. I get it. Everybody, the families, every legal resident of the United States of America will get the prebate. And some people say, "Oh, well, the prebate is nothing more than what do you call it?
An entitlement, massive federal entitlement."
And that's just not true. It's your money spent.
It's a tax refund,
paid back in advance, paid to you in advance of your spending.
It is a refund of money that was collected from you that you do not owe. I mean, exactly the same as the tax refunds you get back from the IRS today. Maybe if your withholding exceeds your tax liability, they give you your change back. A lot of people get a refund. Some people end up having their withholding was not enough and they have to pay more. But most people, when they get a refund, you're just getting your change back. And that's basically what's happening with the prebate, because it would be a logistical nightmare to try to individually track how much each family spends and then start imposing the tax only when your spending exceeds the poverty level. Just, at the cash register, everybody pays the tax, but you get back. It is given back to you, all of the tax you pay on your spending up the poverty level. So you don't take anything out of your pocket until you have taken care of your family. As we've said many times before on this program, feed your family before you feed the government with the fair tax, and the withholding and the income tax system has that the other way around.
Absolutely. And just as a balancing act to take a look at it, today, there are around 155 million tax filers in the income tax system. FAIRtax opens the door to not only what would be considered income taxpayers, the 155 million, but also all United States citizens, international tourists, people that are in the dark of night trade,
underground economy, people who make their living by less than legal means and do not report their income on the tax form. You can name a bunch of folks that do that.
They are going to run, they're going to run to the grocery store just like everybody else does. And that's where the fair tax is collected.
Yes, when your drug cartel boss buys a new Mercedes, you'll pay the fair tax on it.
That's right. And all of a sudden he's contributing too. So it makes a bigger pool to operate from for the federal government. And we would hope that they would see fit to reduce the deficit or make sure that the entitlements that we do rely on, Medicare, the Social Security payments, et cetera, will remain solvent and solid for years to come. And I believe that to be true. There are several articles within the FAIRtax social media universe that you can locate and read about, begin to understand about how that works in terms of balancing the entitlements and making sure that they stay solvent.
Yeah. Direct your attention to fairtax.org. There's a lot of good research there. There's just FAQ that you could read through. But again, Social Security, it is a big thing. It has been in the news recently that we've been hearing over and over and over, Social Security is going broke. It's paying out more than it's taking in. Well, what's the reason is that it is currently being supported only by those people who are working for a paycheck and get a W-2 form. That's where they call them payroll taxes is what supports Social Security right now. Again, people who make their living by less than legal means, people who are here on a tourist visa, whatever, none of those people pay into the system. And also, these payroll taxes are capped. I think it's $148,000 and change. If you make more than that, then the amount that you make above that threshold is not taxed for Social Security purposes. So basically, only your lower income people are supporting Social Security through their payroll taxes. And with the fair tax, again, the payroll taxes go away, the federal withholding goes away, and then everybody who's purchasing exceeds the poverty level becomes a supporter of the Social Security or Medicare system because it's right in the bill. A certain percentage of the actual fair tax revenue is earmarked for those two programs. You are expanding the tax base, again, just from people who are working for a paycheck to everybody who buys things, at least whose spending exceeds the poverty level, and that is most people out there. So the fair tax is going to put Social Security on a much firmer financial footing than it is now. Steve Hayes has written several chairman's reports about this. You can go back to the archive at fairtax.org and read about that as well. But again, the fair tax is it literally will save Social Security.
And without a doubt. And I think that's where a lot of smoke and mirrors are cast by people who may or may not agree with what the fair tax can do and how critical it is to those particular entitlements that a lot of the folks who've worked like you or me who worked a full life and a career where we've contributed to the Social Security lockbox, as they call it. People rely on that number. A lot of folks have told me, the Social Security check is a big part of their retirement plan.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you that's a fact. I get a state pension from having worked in a public sector job for quite a while, but it is supplemented with my Social Security, which is what lets me take cruises to Alaska and places like that. It's just going to be fun.
The world traveler.
Not really world traveler. I kind of like to stay in North America, and I'm not into trying to go to Europe or Africa or Asia where you have to get all these tourist visas and stuff. I'd just rather sail to Alaska where my regular passport is good enough to, because the ship will stop in Canada. So we do have to have that. But that's any place I can go with an American passport is what I'd like to do. I'll tell you what's going to be fun too. Next summer, we're going to take that Trans-Canada train from Vancouver all the way across Canada to Toronto. That's going to be fun, which has absolutely nothing to do with the fair tax, but that's what I'm going to be doing in my spare time now when we're not doing the show here every week.
It does have a lot to do with the fair tax. And think about this, folks. You, as a young person just now joining the workforce, or somebody who's in their middle years of earning at a career or working, think about how much more you will have to save if the fair tax is enacted. When it happens,
oh yeah,
all that money that's in there that says federal withholding, and then all of your Social Security, benefits and everything, all for Medicare, all get released and sent back to you instantly like that. You have a raise.
Yeah. So if you redirect all of that money that Uncle Sam was skimming off the top of your paycheck, redirect that into an IRA or some kind of savings benefit, or just a regular, of course, with the fair tax, just a regular savings account will do. There will be no need for these tax advantage savings plans because there's no tax to seek an advantage from. Just put all that money in a savings account and save for your retirement, and that works really nice. And you don't get taxed on the interest and dividends that you make. You don't get taxed on any of that stuff until you spend it with the fair tax.
That's right. And it encourages, and I always say this, it encourages savings. And you can save for purposes. Since we didn't have Congress.gov any submission today telling us that we could have a bill for other purposes.
Oh yeah, well we've seen hundreds and hundreds of bills at Congress.gov where the government is trying to get its paws on what you can do with your own money, because especially money that you set aside in a IRA type account that you pay tax deferred, they call. Well, if you haven't paid taxes on it yet, that's not really your money. That's our money until you pay your taxes on it. So we get to tell you what you can do with it. Again, all of that garbage goes away with a fair tax. There, I can't think of a single downside of replacing the income tax with the fair tax. No more tax returns, which means you no longer have to disclose your personal financial information to the government. You no longer have to pay somebody to do that for you. You no longer have to pay somebody to provide you some kind of computer software where you can do it yourself. You just don't have a tax return anymore. Again, you get your entire paycheck, no withholding, no payroll taxes whatsoever, and you get this prebate. You get a tax refund those are the big three things. Bring home your whole paycheck, never have to file a tax return again, and get a tax refund every month guaranteed. What is not to like about that compared to the income tax system? And still, it still just boggles my mind that there are people out there saying this is a bad idea. It's not, folks. It really isn't.
Well, then you have the one extreme will be, taxes. We don't need taxes. We shouldn't have taxes. But we all know that the government has to be funded for the main things that we expect from the government, and quite frankly, any other form or part of an income tax reform is not going to get rid of the Internal Revenue Service. So you have those two things that you have to debate with people about all the time. How about a flat tax? How about won't
stay flat?
Yeah, it won't stay flat. It's just like a tire. You can't drive down the road with your tire flat. You can't maintain an orderly income tax any other way other than to just, like we used to say, rip it out by the roots and toss it in the ash bin of history and burn it completely up. Don't go out there and do that now. We want to see the fair tax passed, H.R. 25. We know it's in Congress. Hopefully, in the next couple of cycles, if not sooner, people will say, hey, we really need to do this. Or we need to elect people that can actually go in and make that happen, of which there have been several over the last number of months, basically pledge for supporting, co-sponsoring the fair tax in Congress.
Indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, we're out of time. And let me reiterate once again what a pleasure it has been working with you on FAIRtax Power Radio. We are again taking a break from doing this 30-minute weekly podcast. We will resurrect ourselves sometime in some form, not sure when or exactly how that's going to be. You have not seen the last of the FAIRtax guys, even though FAIRtax Power Radio, the 30-minute weekly podcast, ends with this episode. But we're not giving up the fight. We will certainly be there. And Andy and I still want to come up to Winston-Salem sometime this fall, maybe when I get done with my Panama Canal cruise. How's that?
Sounds good. Yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah, bring me a souvenir from the Panama Canal, and I'll buy you a Mr. Barbecue sandwich.
Deal.
Or a plate.
Yeah.
This for 10 years, you and the late Ron Maiellaro put together a phenomenal presentation of the fair tax. And folks, all of those episodes are available out there in the world on YouTube.
Yeah, the FAIRtax Guys YouTube channel has the archive there. We've got the archive on Rumble as well. I'm not sure if you can go back into Facebook and get them. I'm not a Facebook expert by any stretch of the imagination. We've been there for a while. But again, it's been real, and we will see you again sometime, somewhere, as my railroad buddy Danny Harmon would say, somewhere out there on the high iron.
That's right.
We'll see. But until we meet again sometime, somewhere, not sure when or where, but we will meet again. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you for the last time the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So what do you need from me to get these taxes collected?
Glad you asked, because there is a fair amount of information you need to be aware of.
That's your tax plan?
Oh, no, this is just the revisions for this year's tax plan. What I need from you is you need to keep track of all of your income, as well as any taxes that you've already paid, also any gifts that you received or gifts you've given to churches or charities or individuals throughout the entire year. Do you do any side jobs?
Every now and again.
Great, because there's some more information about that right here. Everything you need to know right here. So just simply compile that, send it in to us. Be careful, make sure there's no mistakes. If we do find mistakes were made, we can fine you or, throw you in jail. So you might want to be aware of that.
And what do you need from me?
As an individual, nothing. As a business owner, or if you're doing side jobs, yes, you would have to collect taxes on that, but it's all right here.
Can I get a copy of that?